Good afternoon and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing for the Committee on Aging, joined with the Committee on Senior Centers and Food Security. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. If you would like to testify, you must fill out a witness slip with one of the Sergeant at Arms. Just a reminder, no one may approach a dais at any time during this hearing. Chairs, we are ready to begin.
Good afternoon. I'm Councilmember Susan Zhuang, newly appointed Chair of New York City Council's Committee on Aging. Thank you all for joining us today hearing on condition at older adult centers. I want to start by saying how exciting and humbled I am to have been elected for this role. I often hear from my older constituents and their families and friends about how important the service DFTA provides. I also often hear about issues they face in receiving those services. From food security to ensure that older adults are able to age in a place with dignity, I'm committed to make New York City a better, safer, and more welcome place for older adults. I want to thank Speaker Manning for trusting me for this important role. I also want to recognize following council members that present today. I have Council Member Abdul and Council Member Brewer, the Chair of Subcommittee on Aging Center and the Food Security Chair Millie. I think Eric Dinowitz was here, and the Council Member Eric Dinowitz, and the Council Member Tom Henry on the Zoom. And with that, we will now move to today's topic, condition at older adult centers. As we know, older adults make up about 16% and are the fast-growing segment of our city's population. Older adult center, or OACs, serve a vital role providing access to activities, resources, and social engagement for older adults. Despite this, OACs are often in dire need of repairs and improvements. Many, especially those located in NYCHA facilities, have broken HVAC system, deteriorating floors, malfunction elevator, outdated kitchen equipment, and aging transportation vans. In the last section, the council acted by provision $5 million in a first-of-its-kind funding initiative geared towards fixing and improve our OACs. However, more must be done. We look forward to hear from the administration on path forward, and I want to thank Representative from DFTA for being here today. We will also be here the following legislation, intro number 238, sponsored by Councilmember Crystal Hudson, which was previously heard last session as introduction number 237 on September 22, 2025, and the intro number 280, sponsored by Councilmember Linda Lee, which was previously heard last session as introduction number 770, also on September 22, 2025. Food security is a special important issue for older adults. According to New York Health Foundation, a high percentage of older adults in each borough in the city do not have enough to eat, between about 11% and 17%, depending on the borough, which this bill seeks to address this issue. The first of the bills we are hearing today, Intro 238, sponsored by Councilmember Hudson, could require DFTA to establish a grab-and-go meal at older adult centers. It will be a daily program available to all members at OACs. The second bill, sponsored by Councilmember Lee, is Introduction 280, which would require home delivery meals to be delivered each day of the calendar year, including weekends. Currently, home delivery meals are only delivered on weekdays, and usually only one meal a day is delivered. For more than 24,000 homebound seniors who rely on this program, it's not enough. I want to thank both sponsors for working hard to assure vulnerable older New Yorkers have enough to eat. I will now pass to Council Member Chair Mealy who will make a statement on your agenda legislation.
Thank you, Chair. You hear me? All right. Good afternoon. I'm Councilmember Darlene Mealy, Chair of the Subcommittee of Senior Centers and Food Insecurity. I am excited to co-chair this hearing with Susan Swang. And I want to thank Julie Menon for entrusting me in this committee in which I love, and seniors are dear to me. Older adults are a vital part of our city's fabric, and older adult centers play a critical role in fighting food insecurity in older adult population. My subcommittee and this council are dedicated to ensuring that older adults have the nutritional food they need and deserve. We are hearing two bills today. Introduction 238, sponsored by Councilmember Hudson, and Introduction 280, sponsored by Councilmember Lee, which will help increase older adults' access to food by expanding two already existing programs, Grab and Go meals and home delivery meals. There are many ways in which we can utilize our older adult centers to fight food insecurity, and we will continue to explore options to improve this ability for our seniors. And I want to thank my colleague for chairing this meeting with me, and I'm looking forward to serving with you. And I will pass this back over to our chair, Swang.
Thank you. Now, thank you. And now I want to pass the microphone to Committee Counsel to administer the oath to member of the administration.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and to respond honestly to council member questions before this committee?
I will.
You may proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, chairs, and congratulations on your appointment to the committee and reappointment and expansion of the work that we will be doing together between the Department for the Aging and the council. My name is Ryan Murray. I'm the Executive Deputy Commissioner and Chief Program Officer for the New York City Department for the Aging, NYC Aging, which many of you still refer to affectionately as DIFTA. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today about these two bills, which are directly related to our meal programming and services for older New Yorkers, the ability to age in place in New York City, and our mutual goal of building an age-inclusive city centered around community-based care. As we frequently say, nearly 2 million New Yorkers are age 60 or older, and that number is expected to increase significantly in the next decade. As the city's population ages, so does the need for expanded services to help older adults remain in their homes and communities and age with dignity. This includes functioning centers in up-to-date spaces where older adults can socialize and access services. We're committed to ensuring that centers run by our network of providers are welcoming and safe places for older adults. Older adults are particularly vulnerable to challenges like social isolation, financial insecurity, and limited access to culturally competent care, which can worsen such conditions as depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. At NYC Aging, we're particularly sensitive to the connection between financial insecurity and food insecurity. These two challenges for the growing population of older New Yorkers poses one of the most pressing threats to the ability for our city's population to age in place in the communities that they've built with the dignity they deserve. It is clear to us that older adults experiencing food insecurity will, more than likely, also experience financial insecurity, which affects other areas of life. When we provide a meal for an older adult, we are alleviating a specific concern which prevents them from meeting another basic need like housing, healthcare, buying prescriptions, or any basic facet of life. That is why we view these two introductions we are discussing today as fundamental to the work that we do. As we've said in past hearings, older adult centers occupy a range of building types and ownership structures. A requirement of the older adult center RFP is that providers retain site control of their location at the time the contract is registered. For OACs in private buildings, this may be a lease or a written agreement if the OAC is not paying rent to the organization which owns the building. For NYCHA-based OACs, we have operating agreements in place in lieu of leases, which define the terms of how the center will operate on that site. Some OACs are part of a larger organization which own the buildings in which they're located. Additionally, there are some OACs which operate in city-owned buildings. This range of OAC facility type means that capital improvements take a different form based on what type of building or ownership exists for the OAC. While our partners at NYCHA are not here today, we do take our role in the NYCHA spaces very seriously. As you know, roughly a third of our OAC portfolio is located in NYCHA buildings, and we work very closely with NYCHA to address those issues. In our last hearing on this topic, where I testified in January 2025, we were joined by NYCHA to discuss our partnership regarding programs locating in the developments they own. We're happy to continue conversations with you about NYCHA-based OACs, but would like to also have them at the table for the benefit of the council. Two of the Aging's core services are older adult centers and home-delivered meals program, which are intrinsically connected to providing meals and nutrition assistance to older adults. In recent years, we have altered our own thinking and clearly see congregate our home-delivered meal programs, which we provide as food as medicine. These are essential services for healthy living and preventing social isolation, which could affect older adults at a very basic level. The work done by OACs, HDM programs, and our case management agency providers combats poverty and financial security, which addresses the needs when struggling with activities of daily living. For older adults experiencing food insecurity, it is typically represented by financial insecurity, and we continually work to meet those two distinct needs within our network of providers. We continue to see significant levels of need in meal delivery, with a current record of more than 10 million meals served to older New Yorkers throughout the 5 boroughs. This includes 6.1 million meals served at the older adult centers, the 300 plus centers that you're aware of across the network, and 4.2 million meals delivered by our HDM providers. We fully anticipate that we will match that number again at the close of this fiscal year in a few months, and we're confident that the aging population in New York City and that NYC Aging serves will continue to serve more than 10 million meals annually in years to come. This is an incredible achievement when considering the dollar-to-dollar impact of meal provision as an anti-poverty measure in the lives of older adults. When the Older Americans Act was passed in 1965, a reason for creating this pivotal legislation was to address older adult poverty nationwide through nutrition and support programs. While much has changed about being an older adult since the 1960s, life expectancy increasing, of course, and longevity being central to how we live, the basic human need and for dignified life, meals, health, agency, income, all remain the same. The purpose of today's hearing is to address Introduction 238, a bill to establish grab-and-go meal program and Introduction 280, a bill to require home-delivered meals every day of the calendar year. Regarding these introductions, we agree that these bills could improve meal delivery and nutrition programs for older adults, but we want to highlight the operational challenges which can be addressed during the negotiation phases of the bill as they age. Particularly regarding grab-and-go options at OACs, we're mindful of the federal requirements in the Older Americans Act, specifically titled 3C1, which is congregate meal funding, necessitates that congregate meals provided at older adult centers and services happen at the same location. Without consideration of the Older Americans Act mandate or changes to federal law, there will be funding implications to Intro 238, which diminishes the role of the federal government in reimbursing those meals. Similarly, Introduction 280 would necessitate 7 days of daily meal deliveries and is currently achieved through public-private partnerships which supplement the NYC Aging HDM contracts. Nonetheless, the daily meal delivery requirement is difficult to achieve given the labor needs and will need to be carefully considered as we look at various models and their associated costs. We look forward to discussing these bills further with you and in the future as these important topics to older adults and to NYC Aging. I want to say and that I greatly appreciate both sponsors of today's introductions, Councilmember Hudson and Councilmembers Lee, who have been so collaborative and forthright with us on these bills. We're always grateful to have a relationship with the council, which I know will continue, where we can find solutions that work for the agency, the providers, clients, and the shared goals of the council, which we share and we think are aligned. At NYC Aging, we're pleased to provide services to older New Yorkers through our OACs, monthly or home delivered meals distributed to homebound older New Yorkers, and we look forward to continuing these efforts to address the needs of the growing population in New York City. I want to thank all of you for your commitment to older New Yorkers over the years. That partnership, that alignment, those shared goals have truly made the work of this agency more successful. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. And also, I want to recognize Councilmember Amanda Ferris is here. And let's move to the Q&A portion of this hearing. I do have a lot of questions. The first question, how many OACs does DFTA oversee and provide funding for?
We oversee approximately over 300 older adult centers, which we fund.
And how they divide it? It's by borough, by
Sure.
any concentration area?
Sure. So our programs, as you're aware, are across the 5 boroughs. I'm happy to follow up with a detailed list with you with a breakdown of where the centers are, how many are in each borough and community district.
Okay. We're going to follow up with you, definitely. And also, second question, can DFTA provide information on the type of buildings and where those building OACs are located?
Certainly. We can.
Yeah. And then you're going to give me afterwards?
We will.
Okay. And also, I want to know how many in NYCHA buildings.
Sure. For NYCHA, there are about 106 older adult centers located in NYCHA facilities.
So it's half in NYCHA
A
buildings.
third.
Third.
Yeah, so it's 3, 3, and 3. Privately owned, city owned and operated, and NYCHA buildings.
So before you said 300 OACs does DFTA overseeing provide funding for is 300, and 160 is in NYCHA building.
106.
106. Okay.
Yes.
And are any location where is lack of OACs or too few OACs in the neighborhood? Is there anyone complain about that?
I can't speak to specific complaints today. What I can say is that we're always looking at the distribution of older adult centers across the 5 boroughs, and in the context also of population growth, population shifts. You may have heard us at council hearings before talk about hot zones and cold zones across the 5 boroughs, where there's some shifts in population, where we've seen significant growth in older adults. And therefore, when you look at those, there is an opportunity in the future when there's a request for proposal, as an example, or if it's through discretionary process, to possibly look at those locations. But that is a process that we're always considering.
And also a lot of younger senior adults aged between 60 to 64. Any service you guys particularly provide to this group of people?
Sure. I'll take a step back. When we think about and talk about older adults, and with older adults, I must add, we acknowledge that the needs, like New York, New Yorkers are diverse and those needs vary. So I wouldn't want to suggest that there's one specific thing that works for an age group. What we are seeing, however, and this is anecdotally because we get feedback from the network continuously, we pull together advisory board group sessions with older adults, where we found that some of the programming folks may want more exercise and recreation program. People talk a lot about wanting to go on trips and Others are also looking to work and continue to volunteer. So those are some anecdotal things that we find in the data for folks in the 60 to 64 range, but I don't want to pigeonhole individuals because the needs are diverse, also culturally diverse, depending on the community folks are in, depending on where they might call home, whether it's New York City, another state, or another country that folks might be hailing from. Culturally speaking, there's a range of needs, but we are very aware that we should be thinking about how we respond to those needs with our provider network as a part of the age cohort as well as cultural sensitive programming.
So, is any particular program you have focused on this group?
Sure, I'll say this. What we started 3 years ago was an event that I think many of you have been a part of. Talent is timeless. We've also stepped it up in terms of making sure that there's public events. You came to chair an event in Foley Square last year. We were doing yoga and meditation and so on. So what we found in general is that the need for aging to be a part of amplifying exercise and entertainment and talent is something that's very important for folks in the younger age groups. But it's not solely to that group because we find that our participation ranges across the age groups.
Okay. And I have a lot of questions. Let me pass the microphone to my colleagues, and then let Chair Mealy, you have questions?
I just want to thank AARP in the house. Thank you for showing up and showing out. And that's what we have to do. And I want to thank Mount Ararat Senior Center. They are online. We're getting them online that they can see these hearings, that they will know what we're talking about because it's about them. It's not about us. It's about them. So thank you, Mount Ararat. They online. And we got to get technology more in our senior centers. Okay, I have quick questions that I can pass it over to my colleagues that they can. With Intro 280, home delivery meals, what meals must home delivery meal program providers according to the guidelines, and how often must each kind of meal be delivered?
So our home delivery meal program, as you are maybe aware, is for individuals who don't have the ability to prepare a meal themselves or have someone else who can prepare that meal at home. That need might be temporary or it might be more permanent. So our case management agencies, where we help folks with navigating supports, if people are homebound and require in-home services like home care, cleaning, and so on, is the gateway for our home delivered meals program. So who is the program for? Again, unable to provide, to prepare a meal at home on your own. There's no one else in your life that is preparing that meal. The range of how that happens, though, so an individual might need a meal 2 or 3 times a week, or there may be individuals based on their case management and their life needs who will require a meal every single day, right? And so that varies.
With deliveries,
Yes.
If someone is vegan, they are all in the same delivery truck when they deliver them?
Sure. The way our program is structured, there are about 17 providers across the 5 boroughs who take on a geographic area based on the meal plan. So the individuals who are recipients of meals are assessed. And I know Councilmember Brew would love this. If you're vegan, the meal that is part of your plan is tailored to you, or vegetarian. If it is a kosher meal or a halal meal or other cultural needs in a particular geographic area, we look at 15%. If there's a particular population that might prefer, Asian meals or
No
so on.
separate trucks.
There's no
that
separate
go to
truck.
all halal.
It is
Go all.
each correct. Each provider is responsible for making sure that they can respond to the needs of the individuals who are on their caseload.
So who look over, because sometimes you can't cross-contaminate. Some people don't like pork. So have y'all inspected these trucks anyway to see how they are really being separated inside the truck before they are delivered to individuals?
Sure. We have, so at our agency. Our programs are separated into program officers who go out often
They
to
go
our
out and inspect.
and we have our nutrition advisors, many of whom are registered dietitians, and they look at the the production. They make sure that the food standards are followed. They also look at a food policy to make sure that they're meeting the nutritional values. So safety, nutritional quality, and then looking at the operation is the things that our nutrition advisors do. Yes.
Okay. One thing I wanted to ask in regards to the deliveries. If they go 7 days a week, are you paying the drivers extra? Will funds be incorporated in that also? If they go 7 days a week?
So one of the things that we as you know, we contract with our providers. And so they will follow all the typical guidelines that they have for labor. Some of that, if you're asking about time and a half and those kinds of policies, those are at the provider level, right? Because you could also have a staggered schedule with an individual, right? Where you're not going 40 hours a week and then a weekend where it's 60-hour week. It could be that the individual is working 4 hours a day to get through the deliveries, and they spread that out across the week. If there's a 7-day delivery, that would be part of the case. But those
Okay.
are for the providers.
Okay, my last question, I will turn it back over to the chair. Has DIFTA explored requiring providers to deliver fresh produce and groceries so that the older adults who can and are able to cook for themselves?
So what this program, the home delivered meal program in particular, is focused on folks who aren't. What we have done though is with the state, and we set a record last year of having the most vouchers for a farmers market program. 70,000 vouchers were distributed to older
How many?
adults. 70,000 were distributed to older adults last year for the farmers market coupon program, and those are $25 vouchers where folks can go and get fresh fruits and vegetables. So that is one of the things that we partner on. Are there community partners who also take that on, but this particular program, Home Delivered Meals, is focused on prepared meals for individuals.
Okay, thank you so much. I hold my other questions. I turn it back over to our chair.
Thank you. And the Councilmember Brewers.
Thank you very much. A couple of issues. One is, the mayor has this 1.5% mandate to cut, and I just hope it's not going to be from the centers. Can you be specific as to what programs or services could be cut with this 1.5% mandate?
I don't want to get ahead of the budget season and testimony for that. We obviously, as with every other agency, our chief financial officer, we have an incoming commissioner, and working with the new leadership at OMB, folks are actively looking at what programs, if there are savings to be realized, but we're not currently talking about cuts. So I just want that to be clear, but I don't want to get ahead of budget season and those deliberations. You're welcome.
There was a $5 million capital investment for the centers, thanks to the city council. And I'm just wondering how many have had infrastructure repairs, how many are still to be considered, and how you're making a decision, because as you know, there are so many repairs needed. How are you dealing with this $5 million?
Sure. I will ask the council for the ability to follow up with project lists on those projects in the intake. I'll just give you some background. Our team actively has at least 120 something projects that are on our radar for various types of improvements, where we are either providing technical advice, helping folks to redesign a space, or might be working closely with NYCHA on a particular issue that needs to be addressed. Obviously, first and foremost, we look at health and safety, right? Places have to be safe to enter. Where there are upgrades to a facility, there's an HVAC issue, as you well know, because we talk about this every few months. That is a longer window. Sometimes it's within what our agency would coordinate, and other times, because there might be something with a roof that requires much more repair, we need to work closely with whatever the ownership party is, whether it's NYCHA or private. So I'll be happy to follow up with our current projects list with you to give you a sense of where those projects are.
The NYCHA ones, that third NYCHA, 1/3 NYCHA, is a big problem. And I have lots of NYCHA developments and lots of NYCHA centers, and it's always an issue. So, and there's very little transparency. In other words, we don't know when the money's being spent. Now, some of it's NYCHA's fault. I'm not saying it's DFTA's fault, but I do think it should be more transparent where this $5 million or other dollars are going, because nobody knows. We all spend hours calling to find out. So, the ones that have code violations that are NYCHA, maybe you don't know, are they prioritized? Because what happens is you got to deal with aging, the fire department, NYCHA, the health department, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of code violations. So I just was wondering how you think in the future could be more transparent about those infrastructure issues, particularly with the NYCHA.
Well, as I said in my testimony, I would want to make sure that NYCHA's with me in the conversation,
Okay.
out of respect for them. However, if there is a need for additional transparency, that is something that we're absolutely can look at. And as you know, we are grateful to council for all the investments that you make. So you've had us before talk about the HVAC's improvements that we've made to certain centers. If there's an additional level of transparency reporting that we need to consider, happy to look at that and report back to you.
Okay. And then we love Lenox Hill, as you know, because they do scratch cooking. And so I'm wondering how you are working with other centers to help do that kind of scratch cooking. Obviously, you need capital investments in the kitchens, and you need to have, the support that goes with that. But is there any discussion about how to work with the Lenox Hill Teaching Kitchen to make other centers have as excellent a meal as what is provided at Lenox Hill?
I don't want to commit Lenox Hill to additional work yet.
Well, they love to help.
but council member and chairs and everyone here, you are aware that part of our oversight is really technical assistance. So on our side as well, our team of nutritionists are often in partnership with others, providing technical assistance on how to iterate meals. In one of our systems, we capture. This is just an example. We call it all of the menus across the programs, and we will provide technical assistance on how to make sure your menu is more pleasing, nutritious, as well as obviously following the guidelines. In our centers, we also last year implemented kiosks so that people can do, the how good is the food on a particular day. And we take that data very seriously and are working with each of the centers to make that we rotate across the network where there are improvements to be made. That is real-time data that we have. So there's, of course, you need good chefs, and there's an investment in making sure that folks improve.
Obviously, good food will bring more older adults, and we want more of them at the center. So, and I hate plant-based Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesday, whatever the hell the day is. I think people should have it if they want it, but they shouldn't have to have it. So I won't. One last question, then I'll stop. The older adult social centers, those are the private ones. I do not like them. And so, are you aware? Obviously, they're pulling individuals from the third and the third and the third, the ones that you fund. What are you doing in terms of their I think malfeasance in terms of providing services to our seniors?
So as you know, a prior chair,
Margaret
Chin.
She and I worked on this issue together.
Exactly. Helped to implement with us our ombuds program for social adult daycare programs. As a reminder to everyone, our oversight responsibility for the SADCs, we don't operate them. We are making sure that they're registered, that the hours of operations are there. We go out where there are complaints, and we go out proactively for inspections. Our jurisdiction is also limited. However, we do have our colleagues with, whether it's the State Department, the Office of Medicaid Inspector General, the State Department of Health, and where there are concerns about a particular operator or issues that we've received, our role is to make sure that they're aware and encourage them to follow up in their oversight duties.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I amazed Council Member Brewer asked a very good question. And about the $5 million capital spending, can you email not only her, every single one seat here?
Yes.
I'll have
We like to know what's the process? How long take to about the repair? Is that 10 years or 5 years or 1 year? We like to know because everyone is aging. No one get younger. We want them to enjoy the facility also. And next one, we have Council Member Amanda Ferris.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for being with us today. We did not plan this to talk about NYCHA and their properties, but I have a couple questions on some of the senior centers I have in my district, particularly that are actually somewhat directly related to the food insecurity issue that we see across the city for our older adults. I know NYCHA is not here, and according to your testimony, the last time you folks had a joint hearing was in January of 2025. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we're over a year now since you folks have been at the same table to talk about this really critical issue. Glebe Senior Center in my district has been closed due to HVAC, mold, plumbing issues, the lot, and there's currently no timeline for repairs. Have you folks been in direct conversation with NYCHA about a potential timeline of remediation or reopening?
I'll tell you, on every one of the closed centers, we're in contact with NYCHA and any other party. And when I know you're focused on NYCHA right now, but particularly with NYCHA, you've heard me say this before. We do have a task force session, every bi-weekly meeting where we're looking at issues small and large. Where there is a more significant issue, whether there was a flood or leakage, and then a remediation plan. We do discuss timelines. Again, they're not here today,
Yeah.
and I don't have the timeline in front of me. But I would want to follow up with you on that. But to your question, absolutely, we do talk about timelines, and we are escalating. Some of these jobs require specialists and a longer runway. But where there is a closure to a center, for anyone who's listening, we spend a fair amount of time making sure that there's referrals to other nearby centers.
Sure.
If there are transportation needs, because they're a little further than they could be for some of the folks who frequent those centers. If individuals prefer not to go, we are also looking at other services that can be provided to those individuals.
Well, I'd love to keep the conversation going. Right now, we do have an interim site location that is quite a distance away from Glebe. And obviously, this temporary location is a shared space, has some scheduling conflicts. We know that the folks that are relying on breakfast and lunch services are currently unable to access meals due to mobility barriers. So I'd love to keep this conversation going offline and figure out how to best assist. On top of that, for this center specifically, we have a couple development opportunities coming up in the next 18 months or so in the area. And while we're in a temporary space, I have had ongoing conversations with some of those teams on how could they provide a community center space, one actually directly behind the current Glebe Center building. So would just like to keep talking about that. Chair, if I may, a couple questions. Thank you. Just to the neighborhood shop at Lafayette Estates, my office currently provides discretionary funding to help cover their rent. They had a long-standing relationship with a previous developer and management company that offered them a free rental space. That location switched hands, and the new owner is now charging them a rental fee for operational costs. Is DIFTA conducting a facility needs assessment for neighborhood shop sites to identify capital upgrades needed before they become emergencies, and or looking at budgetary allocations to ensure that some of these new incurred costs, operational costs, are covered under the contract?
So rent increases, as you know, is always a concern for everyone in New York City, and especially for nonprofits who operate programs. And so we are always actively looking at whether the budget that the current provider has, there could be shifts in, if it's reasonable, that is, right? There's shifts in what could be covered if there's a reasonable increase, and we could shift the budget around. That is something we do. Neighborhood shop, Catherine Martinez is not shy at all. And so she is actively working with our older adult center team, our facilities group that helps them think about whether or not a new space is viable, appropriate. It's in the right zone for the center. Those are things that we're working with Catherine on as well.
Great. Well, if the local city council member can help them with the operational cost, I believe DIFTA can do it for sure. Other than that, the only other flag that I'd like to, we don't have to talk about today, but I'd just like to raise in this hearing because I have a moment. The James Monroe Community Center is another center that's on a NYCHA campus. It is, while physically the facility is up to date and complete, it is being presented and with a lot of outstanding inspections and violations and such that is still keeping it unopened. And I just would like to continue talking about that as well. Thank you, Chair, for the additional time.
Thank you. And we have Councilmember Dubois.
Thank you. I have a similar question regarding senior center located at Balcom Randall houses. That is utilized not just by the folks who live there, but they utilize also by our seniors who live in Throgs Neck houses and Schuyler houses. It's 58% of residents in our NYCHA houses are over the age of 65. And there's a great need to have those services and centers for our seniors to, be able to get what they need, have meals, everything, running the gamut from everything. And, the centers that are housed in NYCHA properties are in various states of disrepair. This one in particular is closed. And so seniors are, the proposal is to transport seniors to other centers, which is, it's not the best solution and certainly not a long-term solution. So just would like to have more information about where we are at with reopening that center and finding a location that's closer that seniors could actually access. And then I have a second question about your farmers market voucher programs. We have no farmers markets in anywhere near folks in various parts of the district. I have a very huge geographic district. I have a lot of seniors who live in my district, and there's a lot of food insecurity in my district. So coming up with solutions for people who can cook, who are mobile, but are experiencing food insecurity and would prefer to cook their own meals for various reasons, would like to figure out a solution other than farmers markets, which we don't have access to.
Yeah, of course. And, we work also closely with the Mayor's Office of Food Policy and other city agencies that coordinate different kinds of programs. And so happy to think with you about what some options might be for your particular council district. You're welcome.
Thank you. And also I have some questions too. For additional, after that $5 million about the capital repairs, is any other organizations, senior centers in the waiting list?
Maybe I need you to
So-
state the question a little differently.
Last year,
Yes.
City Council initiative is $5 million for the repairs for senior centers. Is any other senior center not included in this $5 million? Like a lot of people in the waiting list. Do you have that? Is any priority there this year we can help the senior centers? Because as a council member, we always see when we go to senior centers, almost every single senior center needs repair.
So the short answer is there are always needs that go beyond current allocation of resources. So yes, and we're happy to work with you on what those needs might look like. We have, as I said earlier, there are some 120 something projects I'm aware of that are on the list. Some may not be covered by, I should say, the 5 million. Our team and providers are always looking for additional resources. We recently had a nonprofit work with the state, as an example, through one of their programs to get funding to renovate a seniors older adult center in Queens. And so we always know that generally the needs, and then we're thinking about with providers how to meet those. But yes, there are centers beyond that go beyond the $5 million in terms of needs. Happy to follow up and talk with you about those.
And do you guys have like say this one elevator broken
Sure.
is more priority than the carpet need change?
We have a priority list that we always prioritize as well if new funding comes in.
Okay. Can you email everyone here afterwards?
We will follow up with you.
And also for the question I have about grab and go meal, what proportion of OAC already offer those service?
Sure. Our older adult centers, as I said, over 300. There are 113 programs that offer grab and go meals. A little background: this has been an option for the older adult centers who proposed our RFP a few years ago when it was on the streets. This was one of the options. And so those providers who said that this was something that was relevant for their community and tailored their programs have grab and go as an option already. So there are 113 of those programs.
How much could it cost to expand these meals to all OACs?
I'd have to follow with you on that number.
Okay. And for home delivery meals, how much would increase meal delivery to 7 days per week?
Our commissioner previously testified and shared that based on the way the legislation is currently written, the estimate might be around $27 million. That's something that we shared with y'all already on the fiscal impact statement. One of the things that I just want to ask you to consider, though, is as we talk about red line and negotiate the bill further, that may not be the final number, right? Because looking at how people operationalize this, again, there are some communities and individuals who may not want 7 days a week delivery. The option should be there. We agree. We don't disagree with us responding to food insecurity, but the operational way that we respond to that, some folks have medical appointments and other things, right? So not everyone wants a meal every single day of the week. Based on how we design we agree on the legislation and design the program with our operators, the number might change. So that figure that you have on file is subject to additional revision.
Okay. And also, what is any map we can see how many meals delivered in every neighborhood?
We could look at that. We do know where deliveries happen. On any given day, there are about 25,000 people. Any given year is 25,000 folks who are served by the program. On any given day, that number might vary, again, as I said, based on the delivery pattern. But we're happy to think about how to display that for a discussion.
Okay, thank you. Let me pass to Chair Mealy.
Okay, thank you. Since you're difter, currently New York City Aging capital plan as of the fiscal 2026 adopted plan totals about 75.3 million. The largest project in relation to relocation of DIFTA headquarters, New York City Aging headquarters, with the runner-up being projects associated with older adult center renovations. So could you tell me what capital amount of dollars located to renovate and address the repairs of older adult centers? Just for your relocation was 75.3 million.
Sure.
So how much remodeling older adult center do you feel that renovation would cost?
So as I shared earlier, one of the things that I could look at are the projects that are known to us today and what those estimated costs might be. At the hearing where I testified last year, you've heard that in the hundreds of millions was a figure that was floated on older data for NYCHA facilities, right? So that's just a one estimate. But again, the capital budget overall, like for our centers, varies across the types of operators. So what I wouldn't want to do is give you a ballpark figure today, based on a set, because we need to go back in every center, right? Those needs change consistently. But what I am committed to doing is, of the projects we're aware of now, where there are estimates based on the scope of work, we're happy to size those and follow up with the council about those needs, knowing that there are always going to be something happen in a development, or something happens at a center where, it's been snowing a lot, right? And there's been rain and so on, and something could be affected. So know that that would be a point in time number. But I today, it wouldn't be responsible of me to give you a ballpark figure for all of our 300 centers, because not every single one is requiring a significant upgrade or repair today. We could follow up on the 126 or thereabout projects we're aware of.
Thank you. But going back to my colleague, what is DIFTA doing in regards to if it's a senior center, a food desert, like my colleague just said? Who is assessing to make sure that all our seniors have senior centers? I'm the chair of senior centers, senior food and security. And it's alarming that she does not have a senior center, in walking distance, and to make sure if the majority of our seniors want fresh produce to cook for themselves, why are we not addressing those issues? So I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues to make sure that fresh food that they could cook themselves, because that's a population that we just overlooking. What is your administration doing that to combat that? And then the next question, how long would it take a RFP for a new center to be in existence? I've been waiting for one for going on 4 years now. This going on 5 now.
So Orlette, we've shared with you before, Chair, that our planned RFP, we're in a new administration, and
Let's not even talk about the new administration. I'm talking about 4 years. I've been putting half of my budget to make sure a senior center that was closed. I don't know how it was closed, but when I got in office, I reopened it. I make sure they have food. That's millions that could have been going to another part of my community, but I know it's important to make sure this is a 420 unit of all seniors. They live in now because their senior center is there. So how long would it take my colleague to get a senior center? Because to me, that's saving lives.
So one, I want to
Don't forget the RFP.
Yeah, I can answer both questions. One, on you're talking about Mount Ararat again, and so I just want to be clear. Great. Hello, Mount Ararat
Thank you
again.
very much.
I think we are aware that there are 30 something.
Educate them to come after you.
30, well, hopefully partner with us, not come after us. 30 or so older adults who are online right now, I believe is what you're saying, who are participating in the older adult center. I know there are 420 something in the development, 30 something participate on any given day. And I just want to say thank you again to Claudette Macy and the team at Fort Greene for stepping in to make sure
About
that
50. We do boots on the ground, and we teach them sign language. So it's a big population now.
Got it.
Thank you.
So the 30 that we saw before when we visited Mount Ararat, I'm glad the center is open. As you are aware, I think the $250,000 was also allocated from the administration in the last budget for Mount Ararat. And so as we're looking at any additional areas where we don't have a center, I think I heard Throsneck was the specific example where we've been working to get that reopened. I'm happy to work with any council member here where there are deserts. If we need to have particular programming whether it's by a current operator, and it might be a meal service, it might be, to your point, a grab and go program that is available. Those are things that we're always looking to do in collaboration with the community. So happy to take that on. On the fresh produce, just to close that out, again, there are partners like City Meals on Wheels and others who do have those kinds of programs. And through the Mayor's Office of Food Policy, if the farmers market is not the option with food insecurity, we're committed to looking at using every single tool in the toolbox to make sure that folks get food on their tables.
The RFP. How long will it take for RFP for a senior center?
Sure.
Is
We-
it one coming up?
We have tentatively communicated that the option is there to have a request for proposals that happens sometime in the spring. We have communicated here before, the commissioner testified, I think, recently, that our older adult centers, our NORC programs, and our transportation programs have the option to be released for proposals sometime this year. But those are decisions that we're going to have to work with the new administration to determine what those timelines are. We're in February, and so the plans that we've had are subject to being reviewed.
I have one question. How often does Agent Connect receive inquiries about OACs? Are seniors utilizing that services? And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague.
Is your question whether or not
They're utilizing.
individuals are using the older adult centers?
No.
Or, go ahead, say it again.
Connect. It's connecting them, like calling.
Sure.
say,
So we have our Agent Connect program. We're happy to follow with you
Thank
on
you.
the numbers or number of calls that we get on older adult centers and so on.
Is it going up or? It's
Our Agent
even?
Connect numbers have consistently been high. But again, I will follow up. I don't want to make a misstatement. I'm under oath on the record.
Thank
And
you.
so I want to make sure that we get you the facts. Agent Connect and 311 are the two places where our calls come in, whether folks are looking for a center. We also have a finder on our website where you can go in, put your zip code in, and figure out what's nearby. It'll tell you the distance from the center. As well. And, again, if there's a center that is temporarily closed or long-term closed for some reason, we work with our operators or provider partners to transportation, even if it's not the ideal. We want to make sure that folks are able to connect to a place where they can have food. So yes, our Agent Connect numbers are high. I will get you the figures on those. And older adults do call about services, whether it's our older adult centers or it's other programs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Turn it back over to Chair Swang.
Thank you. And is that true? The grab and the go meal are not treated as a supplement to congregate meal in DFTA contract, and consider a primary meal?
The grab and go, as it is designed, and as I shared about congregate meals under the Older Americans Act, have a particular setup where they're to be consumed in the location. The grab and go is if you're not having one of those meals and you're taking it to go, and there's some very good reasons how that happens, right? Like, for example, there are many older adults, you asked about younger or other ages, who would come for an activity, and they're not staying for a meal in the center, but they do want a congregate meal and a meal in general to go. It will be the same type of meal, but packaged appropriately with instructions on how to reheat and make sure it's refrigerated appropriately. So our grab and go are not to be consumed at the center, again, based on the Older Americans Act.
And also, have you do a survey in older adult center about the grab and the go meal options? Is any survey has been done?
So I can't speak today about the survey for grab and go, but however, we have been actively talking about grab and go programming with our older adult center providers over the last few months. We're looking at innovations. We have an executive directors and program directors. We have monthly meetings. So I can't speak to a formal survey, but we're always looking at ways to improve our grab and go operations. The other thing I want to actually share with you is we have launched over the last 3 years what's called a pop-up cafe. And what that means is it is an extension of our ability to serve communities. And so the meals that are available there, we have 10 operating pop-up cafes now. It's an innovation funded by the Administration for Community Living. About 9,500 older adults who 50 something percent of them are not connected to older adult centers, actually, and go in for a meal. It's cafe style, so you can pick which thing you want, whether it's your apple, your sandwich, your soup, your salad, as opposed to the same kind of meal for everybody. And that we find is an innovation. So we appreciate you and putting the intro conversation today, but we're not just waiting for legislation to think about innovation. We're always looking at ways to innovate what we're doing. And we found it to be successful so far. Our goal is to reach about 14,000 individuals through that initiative. The current network will pitch whether or not they want to be an operator. We give some supplemental funds, and they will set up a new site in a community where that grab and go option, which isn't a cafe style, if you will, the pop-up cafe, that is available as an option for innovation today. And they're in operation for about a year. So I just want to let you know that that is another thing we are doing.
We both like it. And also, is that possible for senior centers doing grab to go meal and then also congregate meal together in the same center?
There are options where there's grab and go and congregate in the same center. Again, in the 113, yes. But you can't consume the meal, the grab and go at the center. That is to go.
I remember my grandma, like 15 years ago, she go to senior center, pay $1, get a meal for lunch, and eat half, and bring the other half home for dinner.
Yeah.
That's and then this is very helpful for seniors. They just need heat in the microwave, and the portion is big, so she not finished, and then sometimes she offered to me. This is very helpful with seniors, and I appreciate that.
And Chair, let me just clarify one thing for the record. It is a contribution. It is voluntary, and so we can always continue to do education on that.
May
Yeah.
I, Chair?
Yeah.
Why do they have to pay the $1? That's volunteer.
The Older Americans Act does ask that we have to ask for a contribution.
You
Yes.
have to ask.
The program has to request a contribution.
Haven't
but
our seniors paid more than enough years, taxes? And now some of them, who is regulating this? I could go to a senior center and I gotta say it. I did a fish fry. I produced all the fish, paid for it and all. It's free. I get there, the director was charging the seniors $5. She said, because she made spaghetti. So it's a donation. Please clarify that with me. I would love to hear this.
it is a donation, a contribution, and there should be a
How
sign.
high can they go?
This is dependent on the meals in the centers. I'm happy to speak more with you about
Please.
this and that specific center, but it is a contribution, and I always have to make that clear. There's also supposed to be a sign that shows that it's voluntary. If a sign doesn't exist, our team is happy to come out and make sure
If a
that
sign
is
does not exist,
Yeah.
it's free.
us. It,
Huh? I'm sorry, I'm just asking
Yeah.
a question.
the centers are supposed to ask for a contribution, but I wanted to be clear with the chair that it is a contribution, not an absolute requirement.
She thought everyone have to pay $1, but and then now I think the center increased to $3.
That's a lot of money. I have a center right now. They want to go on a trip, and the money should be going from that 250,000 that I advocated for from the last administration to go to food and a show, but now they have to pay $75. I'm not understanding how our seniors still have to pay top dollar. Whenever I do something in my community, it's free because they already paid their tax dollars, their blood, sweat, and tears for living this long, and now they are retiring. They should be host. Everything's supposed to be free for our seniors. So I would love to talk with you offline to see how we can regulate this a little. You saying they have to pay $1. How high do that donation,
And
or how high can that donation go?
And to be clear, I didn't say they have to pay $1. I said it's a contribution that has to be requested. They don't
That's
have
like
to.
at a museum, you could give a donation.
Correct.
Okay, so you
And
really don't have to.
that's really what I wanted to clarify for the chair.
There you go. So where do that money go?
Those programs are supposed to reinvest those dollars into base with their advisory board and others in the community what makes sense for that center.
So they could pay for a bus if they raise enough money.
Depends on the value of the
Advisory
bus. It
board.
depends on the advisory board and if that's the priority.
Thank you. Love to talk to you.
Okay,
Sure.
I have just two more questions. What do you see operational challenge to expand each home delivered meal service?
As you're talking about 7 days a week, I think as I shared earlier, we want to make sure that providers have the capacity to do that. Many of our programs have staff and volunteers, right, who are people delivering the meals. We also want to be thoughtful. Not everybody wants you to see them every single day, right? Thinking about whether it's religious observance or other practices where you don't want a visit every single day. Those kinds of things, we would want to work with the network of providers and Councilmember Lee, who ran one of these programs and introduced legislation. We want to really spend time thinking about that with you. The point here, I think, of the legislation is you want to make sure that everyone has a meal 7 days a week, and that's a core part of the home delivered meals program. We absolutely agree with that. How that's implemented in terms of whether it is you can receive meals on a Friday and have those meals available for the weekend, or you, depending on your situation, have a daily visit 7 days a week. We want to make sure that this is very thoughtful with providers as opposed to requiring it to be a delivery of a meal every single day. But again, we get the spirit of this. We don't disagree with having this be a full service program. We want to work through that with the network.
So it's only 7 provider. Can anyone be provider?
There's 17, and
17?
yeah, we had a request for proposals a few years ago, and so those groups who have the capacity to deliver meals. And remember, our home delivered meal program isn't just about the meal delivery. It's about that connection to the older adult, to check on them, to see how they're doing. It's someone who is often, for those who live alone, that the one visit they get, right, that week, multiple times or once, depending on their preference. And so that's what we're looking for. They have a social service connection, and they are able to meet all the requirements to deliver the meals. They have the equipment and the vehicles, as well as the team to prepare the meals and oversee the operation.
Okay, my last question. The DIFTA on track for more home delivered meals delivery this fiscal year than last FY25?
We believe that we believe that we are on track for at least the similar level. It's February. Once this quarter closes, we'll look at those data more carefully, and then we have one more quarter to go. The way this program works, chairs, is, as you know, and I shared earlier, you're assessing individuals for the home delivered meal program. And so, again, your meal delivery pattern based on your ability to prepare your own meals, your well-being might be different. And so you might have someone who is better, and we have a greater need coming into the program. Currently, based on what we know of the data, I think we're on track for at least a similar level. I wouldn't want to overstate here yet without looking at the quarter closed, whether or not we will exceed that. But the need continues to be high for home delivered meals.
We like to see the data also. We'll follow up with you about the data. And also my colleague, Chair Mealy.
This is my last question.
Sure.
Intro 280
Yes.
would require New York City agent to deliver home delivered meals each day of the calendar year, expanding the program to include service on the weekend. One, does New York City agents support this effort to expand meal provisions to homebound older adults? Yes or no? Do you support it?
We support the intent of the bill to expand
The intent
services,
of the bill.
and we want to work with you on how to operationalize this.
Okay. And B, how many meals does New York City agent estimate will be delivered on weekends? And how have there been any studies, survey, or assessment done to gather data on the program demand?
Yes, there have been studies on demand.
Have you
and-
estimated how much this would cost more? How much more would it cost for the weekend?
Sure. So again, I think you received a cost estimate before. The commissioner testified in September that based on the current design, about 27 million was what was in our cost estimate, which has already been shared with you as a part of the bill. Again, based on how we are looking at operationalizing this as we get through red lines and so on, that figure could change. One thing you should know that we released, as you've heard before, a service needs assessment in 2024, where we received 8,600 New Yorkers, older New Yorkers, and caregivers responding. And so our study of affordability, our study of folks, housing and other things really does indicate to us that the needs will continue to outpace the resources. You've heard us say that before, and we always need to be looking at what that demand looks like. I thank you for the questions about demand in older adult centers and where people are today. We're always looking at as people move around the city or population growth happens for older adults. So this is the kind of thing that we are studying and looking at, and happy to have conversations with you about it.
Thank you. And I want to ask my chair, we have to definitely meet with him for the pop-up calves. I want to see where those are. And I want to. So we would love to go to whenever you have time. Thank you
Happy
so
to go
much.
with you.
That's what we
We'll
want.
take you on a tour of a pop-up cafe.
Thank you. I'm looking forward. Thank you, Chair. This has been a great meeting that opened up my understanding on a lot of other things that the seniors need. Thank you so much.
And the council member Brewer.
Thank you. One question. I know a lot of folks have brought to my attention your data system, your VIVE data system, and I want to know how do you, it has a lot of glitches, is my understanding. So I'm wondering what you're doing to work them out, and how do you factor them into any program evaluations? Just like you, I'm interested in data evaluation, and I didn't know if, some of the programs that have problems will be held harmless given the rollout of this new data system.
Two-part question. So on the what are we doing to fix it? We launched the system last year, had a pilot go from June until about November. We've expanded the group that's involved in that since then, and we have an active, what we call a user group of champions from the provider network. You should be happy to hear that when we talk to them, they've markedly improved, but still a ways to go. It's a new system, less than a year old, right? And so the point of Vive was that we would have the ability, at NYC agent, our CIO, Kamlesh Patel, will have the ability to make those changes directly as opposed to having it outsourced to an entity where we have to spend a lot of money. And so So now it's going to be in house in the next few months, and that will, we believe, speed up our ability to keep this being what it means. Vives for life, right? So that's the goal of the fixes. Part two of your question, we're actively looking at what the data says around participation and if there were any blockers for certain providers to get their information in. As I said, we have a providers group, and our associate commissioner and other team members are looking at those data together so that folks aren't negatively affected because of a data issue.
So will that data be public at some point? How do you share that data, if at all, about, what's going on in the agency?
Sure. And which data, Council?
In other words, you're collecting data, which is
Sure.
good to see what works and doesn't
Yeah,
work,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Is that something that's going to be shared publicly in the future?
sure. So in our needs assessment, that was one way. We're actively releasing issue briefs on various parts, safety and affordability and so on. In terms of performance, we do have our MMR, as you know, and that's a place where a lot of our how are we doing data goes.
Okay, because some of it, I think, has to go on my open data bill platform.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And also, I have a new question. Do all the adult center that offer both congregate meals and grab and go meal have bigger contracts? If that's compared to just one of that kind?
I don't want to give a blanket response to that, council member. I want to take a look at those data because you might have proposed something that accounts, say this is hypothetical. Many of our programs might have at least a $500,000 budget. If at the time of proposal, you submitted something that said, a portion of this will be grab and go, and some of this will be congregate within the budget, then you have the same budget. Others may have proposed something different, but let me take a look at that and let you know what those budgets look like. But this was at the time of proposal, and we had a maximum budget available, and that, by the way, was based on how many people you were seeing. Right. So the model budget at the time was if you had a smaller amount of people that you're seeing, there's a smaller budget. This is just rough numbers. If it was a larger group, how you divide up those services could vary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we will move to public testimony.
Thank you, chairs. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I now open to the hearing for public testimony. I want to remember. Should I give him something? I want to remind members of the public that this is a government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photographic is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcript of such recordings to the sergeant at arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the sergeant at arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's topic or legislation. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to Sergeant at Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. The first one is Jacob Berman. And the second is Amanda Rickus Williams.
Can you hear me well? Hi,
can
thank you
start.
so much. Good afternoon, Chairs Wong and Chair Mealy, and members of the Committee on Aging. I'm Amanda Rakes William. I'm the Budget and Policy Analyst. Sorry about that. I'm the Budget and Policy Analyst at the New York City Department of Independent Budget Office. I am joined by my colleague Jacob Berman, Assistant Director for Social and Community Services. IBO is a nonpartisan, independent government agency mandated by the New York City Charter. IBO's mission is to enhance public understanding of the New York City's budget, public policy, and economy through independent analysis. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. Today, we will discuss the older adult population trends in New York City, the budget structure for the Department for the Aging, New York City Aging, and trends in usage for older adult centers and meals, both delivered to homes and in congregate settings. Understanding how programs are funded and how NYC Aging contracts with providers for each service is important context as you consider these two introductions. According to the U.S. Census Bureau data, the share of NYC population that is 65 and older has increased from 15% in 2020 to 17% in 2024. The share of older adults living in poverty has also increased by 18% in 2020 to 20% in 2024, now a higher share than the actual total New York City population. On the other end of the spectrum, when considering the share at or above 150% of the poverty line, 70% of older adults fail at or above that threshold, slightly lower than 74% of the total New York City population. In other words, just as there are more older adults living below the poverty line, there are fewer adults living more comfortably above the poverty line. Relatedly, a larger share of older adults receive SNAP benefits or food assistance compared with the total New York City population. A larger share of older adults is also classified as being rent burdened, spending 30% or more of their income on rent than total New York City population. It is clear, can I continue? It is clear that income and food insecurity continue to be a concern for older New Yorkers. New York City Asian has a $618 million budget for fiscal year 2020 as of the November plan, funded mostly by city funds. While these services include case management, transportation, and other services, the main program areas related to the intros are older adult centers, which provide opportunity for socializing and meals, and home-delivered meals. These two areas account for $348 million, 56% of the New York City's agents' total budget in 2026. This spending has grown over time. In 2026, these two areas were budgeted at roughly twice as much as actual expenditures in 2021. However, amounts have fluctuated over the years. In 2022 through 2024, federal pandemic relief funds were used for home-delivered meals, and those funds were replaced by city funds in 2025. OACs were subjected to reductions in fiscal year of 2024. Before those funds were ultimately restored by the executive budget the following year, funds were initially reduced by $13 million each year for 2027 and 2028. And then an additional $18 million for 2024 and $2 million for 2025 through 2028. Though the Adams administrators cited underutilization as a reason for both reductions, the Mayor's Management Report, the MMR, indicates that participation steadily increased and recovered since the pandemic 2022. And the preliminary MMR shows that for 2022 through 2024, demand for utilization of OACs has increased as measured by the total number of participants and average daily participants, as well as demand for meals in OACs has also increased. On the other hand, fewer home-delivered meals were served in 2024 compared to 2022, and fewer clients were served. While this could be interpreted as decreased demand for services, IBO's analysis of the census data indicating greater reliance on SNAP benefits suggests that perhaps the way the program is designed may not align with client needs. In analyzing city financial data and talking to providers, we have learned that providers experience challenges with the frequency of procurement and segmented service provision. Furthermore, there is a strong desire for more community-centric and integrated programming, design, and implementation. For example, an older adult inquires about home-delivered meals at an OAC. That provider that operates the OAC may not have any information about who delivers home-delivered meals in that area. It is common for a provider to be awarded contracts for certain services within an area, but not others. As the need for meals have grown, these two intros establish a year-round home-delivered meal requirement that aligns with frequent funding increases. and will allow grab-and-go meals as an option for participants who may not need OAC services, but expand flexibility and allow participants to take additional meals home, more broadly support nutrition access for older New Yorkers. Finally, IBO is proud to serve as a resource to the community, advocates, journalists, and elected officials alike. IBO takes requests from the public to explore specific research questions and to lead budget trainings at community meetings. See our website to request. Please thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. And the first question I have with the senior meal on wheel and also grab to go meal, which one needs more budget and which one is more important with seniors?
Sure. I'm going to defer to my assistant director.
So, in terms of what needs a greater budget, IBO does not generally issue policy recommendations about that. What we do is we provide data about historical budget trends and what has been budgeted moving forward. So, we're happy to answer any specific questions about kind of historic funding, meals, historic funding levels or service usage, but we don't know what should have greater funding moving forward.
And also, my other question is, you mentioned there's an area need additional meal on wheel, additional grab to go meal. Do you have a data to show where those area is, and then we can do no?
So we have some data that we have gotten from NYC Aging, but we're in constant conversations to get more. And if there are specific areas that you want us to work on analyzing, we'd be happy to do that.
I think it's important for us to know, and then we can provide additional service to those areas.
Absolutely.
Chair Mealy.
Yes, thank you for testifying. Since y'all do data, with this new administration, the big, beautiful bill, they say SNAP benefits, people would have to work for them. And I see you have an analysis. Relatedly, a large share of older adults receive supplemental nutrition assistance program, SNAP. So do you think, what age do y'all know of would have to work if they get SNAP?
So the requirements have changed. That it used to be previously that our understanding is that the big change was on the younger end, that people would be exempted from working up until 18 or 21, whatever it was. I can get the specifics. But that now, after the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, that exemption no longer applies. And so the work requirements are now greater, and there's also the income thresholds changed too.
Do you kind of know specifically what age it cuts off, or do it cuts off?
It does. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm happy to look that up and get that.
Because I tried to get on, I couldn't get to your webpage. I was going to see.
We can follow up and provide you that information.
Definitely.
So, thank you. That's all
We have a report series that we worked on a lot last fall that's ongoing, where we talk about federal changes and local impacts. And one of the pieces was specifically about the impacts on lower income families. And we spent a lot of time talking about SNAP in there. So
okay, I would
we can
look
definitely
forward
give you more
to following
information.
up
Yes.
on that, because we have to be very clear what age it cuts off, because they keep moving the line. First 62, now 65, now 70. So please let us know. In a minute, we shouldn't be working. No, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And also, I have additional question about food and security. In my district, I see every time we do, our office almost weekly doing food pantry. Every single wait in the line, probably 90% seniors. And it's a food stamp stolen, theft issue is the biggest impact in seniors, and also how much the impact, and what's your suggestion for city to do about this?
Well, we don't provide suggestions on things like that. What we can do is we can look and figure out what food insecurity looks like based on community levels. We can probably look at that data and provide that to you.
And also, I just heard from my colleague that is 54 is the age.
I have 16 to 59. The U.S. Department of Agriculture said
I think
SNAP
it,
buildings, if you 16 to 59, you have to work for your SNAP benefits.
yeah. So that's
Glad
definitely
none
a
of us,
change.
we
Yeah.
passed 59, right? Same with me. So, okay. That's good to know,
Yeah,
though.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let
16.
me pass the microphone to Councilmember Brewer.
All right, thank you, IBO. My question is, and I think you have alluded to this, there are more people participating post-pandemic, and so that's a good thing, and your data shows that. Do you have any data as to what, looking at the number of older adults there are in the city, and then what could be if was, even more impactful, innovative, et cetera, older centers could in fact use the centers. In other words, we're trying to see how many more people would in fact be eligible. Now, of course, you don't have to go, but it seems to me that might be a good number so that we could be planning for the future. In other words, what is the number of individuals who are of the age in the city of New York, right, compared to who uses the centers now, that kind of data?
Yeah, that is a good question. I don't have those figures in front of me, but we can absolutely look into that and
Okay, that
follow
would be
up and get
helpful.
those to you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you.
question.
I think we're done with questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then we're going to move on to next panel. We have Janine Carhill Jackson, Janet Estema, Kevin Jones, Kevin Kaprowski. When you guys ready, you can start. Anyone want to come first?
Oh, good afternoon. So first, thank you, Chairman Zwang, Chairman Mealy, for presiding over this hearing today on these very important issues. My name is Kevin Jones. I'm the Associate State Director of Advocacy at AARP New York, and I'm here on behalf of the 750,000 members across New York City and the more than 3.5 million adults age 50 plus across the borough. So right now, the Department for the Aging receives less than half of 1% of the overall city budget, despite the fact that they serve about 20% of the population that's 65 or over. Over the last decade, this 65 plus population grew by approximately 34%. And the number of adults living in poverty has increased by 50%. But the funding in city budget has not kept pace with that reality. So we are here, one, to strongly support both of the meal program bills that are before us. For grab and go and for home delivered meals. But I also want to say that we also support expansion of the congregate meal programs as well. Because for many older adults, these meals are not optional. They are absolutely essential. They prevent malnutrition, reduce hospitalizations, and they allow older adults to remain safely in their homes. And expanding access will help those who cannot get these meals on their own or otherwise. But I also want to stress that this expansion cannot occur without proper funding to make sure that the providers that do all this hard work to get the meals to people, that extra burden is not passed on to them. So we want these meals to be expanded, but we also want to make sure that the funding is there for my colleagues' organizations that are actually getting these meals to people. Also, we're here to support to thank the council members who were part of the budget process last year for the older adult repairs in the budget, and to say that we think this is absolutely crucial to continue going forward, because as we know, we've all seen this, older adult centers have many problems. Sometimes a cooling center, for example, won't have an air conditioner, or a grab-and-go meal location will be on the second floor and there's no elevator that's working there, right? I will submit a longer written testimony, but we are definitely excited to work with the new members of the committee, along with the returning members of the committee, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, chairs, for convening this hearing today. My name is Janine Cahill-Jackson. I'm the director of Elder Law with the Legal Aid Society. First, the Legal Aid Society supports Bill Intro 23826, requiring the daily grab-and-go meals. The expansion to include grab-and-go meals at OACs can meaningfully increase access to food for older New Yorkers that may not be able to attend the congregate meals at OACs. It provides them with an affordable option to have nutritious food on their continuing limited income. It enables older adults to still be able to get the meal if they may not be able to stay at the center due to doctor's appointments or other important appointments. We know this firsthand at the Legal Aid Society, where we work with our clients to schedule our appointments with attorneys and paralegals around their meals at the OACs. But many institutions like doctors and otherwise might not be able to do so for our clients, so it can be really important. To that end, it could be useful to extend the availability of grab-and-go meals maybe right around the lunchtime. For example, maybe starting at 11 a.m., ending at 3 p.m. So if they have kind of a lunchtime appointment, they would be able to make it to the center and then still make it to where they need to go. Additionally, older adults may have health concerns regarding eating in congregate settings due to acute or chronic health conditions. And so this would also create an opportunity for them to still access food while minimizing exposure to possible illnesses if that's of a concern to them. In regards to Intro 280, Legal Aid is also in support of this bill, providing home-delivered meals each calendar year. We would actually suggest, while we're looking to first get to 7 days a week, some further enhancements. For example, more than one meal per day, as proper nutrition for an adult really is in excess of one meal. And often when our clients are relying on the home delivered meal, this is their one meal a day. May I continue? Thank you. So if possible, someday to reach 2 or even 3 meals a day if people do need that. Additionally, the Legal Aid Society proposes that eligibility be expanded to older adults who receive 8 hours or more of home care. This isn't an express limitation, but it's how it's applied. If there's no one available to make a meal, that's the rule, which is currently, when it's implemented, is resulting in the denial of home-delivered meals of our clients if they have home care of 8 hours or more. The reality is that if an individual requires home care, there's a lot more needed in the 8 hours than shopping and the preparation of meals. And so that often leaves them without actually getting that assistance from the home health aide and without being able to qualify for more hours for home health care, and then also not being able to access home delivered meals because they require help with also bathing and dressing and other things in the home. Additionally, many of our clients share that this is their only source of social interaction per day. I think that was shared in prior testimony as well. We suggest that perhaps the program could expand, acknowledging that there is a social component, to maybe build in a weekly a visit or sort of social component option, an actual check-in with the older adults for whom this is their only source of social interaction. Lastly, regarding the different types of meals, there's has been testimony regarding culturally appropriate meals and other things such as vegetarian and veganism. I want to also raise the need for medically appropriate meals, such as addressing meals for individuals with hypertension, other heart conditions, perhaps diabetes, that could also really help support them in their health journey, as well as not only having nutrition. Lastly, we proposed a grocery delivery program. So not only access to perhaps farmers markets with fresh vegetables, but actually how to get your groceries.
Can you wrap up?
Yes, that was actually all I had to say. Thank you very much for the additional time. I could also just provide quickly information regarding the SNAP eligibility for seniors. The age is 64, the max for the work requirement, but there's also a disability exemption. So if you have health conditions that prevent you from being able to do the work requirement and you're younger, you can still apply for an exemption to the work requirement. And I'm happy to provide any additional information offline.
64 years old.
Yes, that's what it was increased to.
What?
Okay, thank you. Next one.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Koprovsky, and I'm the Director of Public Policy for Live On New York. Thank you all for the opportunity to testify. Just for some context, we represent over 110 community-based organizations that provide aging services in every council district in the city. I also want to say we are holding a training on the SNAP situation in 2 weeks, so we can send that out to everybody. It has all the information for staff and for council. So council discretionary funding is foundational to the work our networks does. It forms a disproportionate amount of DFDA's budget compared to other agencies. So I always want to say we're so grateful for the work that you do to make sure that this entire network keeps going. I want to talk about older adult centers and the huge capital needs they have. Many of them have deteriorating spaces, appliances, vehicles that have gone without upgrades for the past decade. Some have broken refrigerators, floors, bathrooms, kitchens, vans, HVAC systems, roofs, elevators. I can go through the whole thing. And a lot of these are actually in NYCHA spaces. Some of these, as we've heard, are completely closed because they have either fixed it and have not been able to get inspections or just are still not workable at all. I want to say a lot of our recommendations have to do with some things that cost money and some things that are absolutely free that we can do today to fix some of these issues. The first one is we need to investigate the true cost of bringing all of these centers up to standards. The city has estimated that fixing just NYCHA centers will cost $1 billion, and they haven't estimated across the entire system because not all of these centers are capital eligible, and they are only analyzing the capital eligible centers. 2, we need to reform the capital eligibility rules with NYCHA centers because I can tell you there's a lot of our members that have sought funding through state and federal levels. That rules at the city have prevented that money from being spent. Just to be clear, millions of dollars have been blocked from being spent because NYCHA rules have prevented center and center directors from using them for just administrative reasons that we don't know why that's happening. So we'd love to look into that a little bit more. We'd also like to create contracts that allow organizations to have a longer term lease because that prevents capital eligibility if they do not have site control by the city's bond rules, which require typically 10 years of site control. But sorry, 10 years of site control, leases are, contracts are 3 years long. You tell me how that's supposed to work. We're still trying to figure that one out. Next, an intra-agency organization needs to be put together to coordinate responses to NYCHA-based building code violations. We have had members who have been threatened with arrest after going to an oath hearing because FDNY has given them a violation. NYCHA has not allowed them to fix the violation, and oath does not accept that as a reason. There is no communication happening between these agencies at the back level, which is causing centers to close, causing personal liability for directors, and causing centers to remain in violation because they cannot fix it. We're also calling for an increase in congregate meal rates, which have not been increased since before the pandemic. I know that food has been more expensive for me 7 years ago, so I really think we need to be upping that because centers have been using the same amount of money to provide the same amount of services, and it's really stretching them thin. And last, the $5 million that the council gave last year is the first time that most of these places have been able to fix problems they've been seeing for decades. I cannot stress how critical this money is and how important it is to keep this funding going because right now it's the only Band-Aid that centers have to fix these problems. In terms of the bill, absolutely support both of them. We'd like to talk about some of the federal implications of grab and go because they renegotiated the regulations last year. That really hasn't come up a lot, but we do believe that there is the possibility that grab and go might be allowed. We'd love to have those conversations. And as long as funding is there, because our members are really stretched thin as is, we also 100% support 7-day-a-week meals. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Sorry for going over.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeanette Estima, and I'm the Director of Policy and Advocacy at City Meals on Wheels. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. City Meals supports both the bills before the committees today, and we're grateful to the bill sponsors for their work to expand food access for older New Yorkers. When we surveyed 500 people receiving meals at OACs and through home-delivered meals programs a few years ago, we learned that half of them were food insecure, and 65% were living on $15,000 a year or less. While these programs are critical anti-hunger interventions, they do not go far enough for those who physically cannot get to a grocery store or a food pantry or afford the food that they need beyond the meals that they receive. Currently, the city's home-delivered meals program provides only one meal a day, 5 days a week. Participants receive meals on weekends because City Meals privately fundraises to cover some of that cost. In fiscal year 25, we funded over 1.4 million meals at a cost of over $14 million. But these meals do cost more to provide, well beyond our capacity to fundraise. Following our research, we developed 2 innovative, cost-efficient programs to get more food to our most food insecure home-delivered meals recipients. Our breakfast box program provides enough food for a second daily meal to those with the highest need, and our mobile groceries program provides 14 meal equivalents on a monthly basis. These programs are bridging the hunger gap for 2,600 people enrolled, but there are thousands more who could benefit. Expanding the home-delivered meals program and offering grab-and-go meals at OACs would provide older adults with the dignity of having enough food and a choice in what, where, when, and how they eat. These bills do exactly that, and we urge the council to pass them with adequate funding. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have some questions for AARP. You said before the seniors, you said only 34% under poverty and now changed to 50?
The increase in poverty rate was 50%. Yes. So it went up to 34%. The increase in poverty rate was 50%. It did not go up to 50%, but it increased by 50%. Sorry.
So what's the major issue you think, except everything inflation, and is any solution?
Well, I couldn't give you an entire list, but I think, certainly cost is a big driver of that, right? Because cost, as we all know, is outpacing incomes, right? And for a lot of the folks that are our members, their incomes are steady, right? They're constant and they're not changing. So the costs going up in housing, costs going up in transportation, because we work on issues not just about food and health, but also, transportation and workforce and all kinds of things, right? Every aspect of the older adult's life. But as we all see, as my friend here mentioned earlier, costs for, he knows that costs for him have gone up, right? But also most of us that are still in the workforce, we get some sort of COLA every year, even if it doesn't keep up. And that's not necessarily the case with a lot of our members.
Thank you. And also, is that means, I just want to put on record, is that means if city doesn't allocate more funding for seniors, city is putting seniors' life in danger?
Yes. And I mean, the other
Everyone
thing,
agree,
said,
right?
Right. And it is, again, half of 1% of the budget is going to serve 20% of the population.
Thank you. And for the repairs and said budget be blocked, can you give me more detail why the budget be blocked?
Yes. So if you are trying to secure funding for an NYCHA center, and let's say that you've received a grant from the state level, if you do not have documents that prove site control, they will not release the funding to you. So we have members who have gone to their state legislators, secured funding, but NYCHA is refusing to give them a pathway to prove site control, even if that center has been there for 50 years. There's a lot of discussions that we can have offline as to why, because each center has, different reasonings, but NYCHA can provide a document stating that they have site control. And in some cases, they have just not.
NYCHA doesn't want to.
In some cases, they have just not. And we've actually had people who have secured $250,000 to repair a room where the roof has collapsed, have not been allowed to spend it for 10 years, and then the funding even gets revoked. And that's money that could be coming into the city that is not coming into the city because of administrative rules that for some reason are not being changed.
Thank you. And also I really like you said, sometimes it's only a one-time interaction when they deliver the meal. Is there any program nonprofit can help have intergeneration contact, adopt grandparents, adopt seniors, like older adults program?
So I think if anybody knows of them, please share. One that I'm aware of is not intergenerational, but there's a friendly visitor program that DFTA does run. And we actually don't have many clients that participate in that program, but I'm aware of that. I'm not aware of any other visiting programs, but they may exist.
Because in my district, I see there's I participate in one of the program with my daughter as they deliver food to Holocaust survivors. a lot of time those people already over 90 years old, they are in wheelchair. When they see kids, I went with my daughter, she's 8 that time. They are very happy to see someone knock their door, just talk to them, because a lot of time this interaction really makes sure they feel someone is care about them. Yeah.
Just one stat that really jumped out at me, and I heard it, I think, my first week at ARP. Social isolation is as negative, has an impact on your physical health that's equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, right? So we know that it's the right thing to do just on an emotional level, but it has a huge impact on physical health as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. Chair, do you have a question?
I really hope that this we can come together and see if we can have grocery delivered just like the meals. That was a good suggestion, I must say, and to see if we can do 11 to 3 for the centers are a great thing just as well. So thank you. I thank you all for being here and looking forward to working with you. And can I have your notes or something, because you went straight to what I was looking for with the groceries. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. It's a lot of information we learned today, and thank you. And we have next is Crystal Simons, and also Anita Kwok. You can start. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Zhuang and Mealy, Speaker Menon, and the New York City Council Committee on Aging and Subcommittee on Older Adult Centers. My name is Crystal Simmons, and I'm the Associate Vice President of Aging and Nutrition Services at Goddard Riverside Community Center. I am here today to testify to the issues we have faced with ensuring capital improvements for our older adult centers and how they impact the health, safety, and community well-being of older adult members. The capital funding process is already incredibly complex, and we agree with many of the critiques from other organizations testifying today that will flag about this process. However, my testimony today focuses on clearly outlining a major concern regarding the use of capital project dollars within our NYCHA-based community and older adult centers. The core issue is this: many of our sites operate in NYCHA spaces due to cost and proximity to residents who need support. And our shared goal is simple. We want environments that are safe, comfortable, warm, ADA accessible, and inviting for our older adult members. Our program contracts with agencies like NYC Aging that assume we are providing services out of sites with property owners who are going to be responsible for basic repairs. However, too often city capital project funding is being directed toward repairs that are the landlord responsibilities, rather than being used to enhance and augment the spaces for the community members we serve. Capital projects should not be used to fix foundational issues such as roofs, plumbing, heating, and flooring. These should be considered core structural obligations of NYCHA as the landlords. A prime example is one of our older adult centers, which has had a leaking roof for over a year. And I do have the pictures, the documents, and the NYCHA tickets dating back to 2024. As of today, it still has not been fixed. So when it rains outside, it pours inside the center. As a result, our center has been forced to cancel programs multiple times. May I continue? Thank you. Cancel programs multiple times after the storms because the conditions become unsafe for our members, staff, and volunteers. These cancellations have real consequences. We are contracted to deliver a certain number of program units each year, and every single cancellation is a loss of unit, a loss of a program for our older adults that rely on, and a loss toward meeting our annual commitments in our city contracts. And importantly, NYCHA does not bear the responsibilities for these missed units. We, the providers, do. Our older adults have worked their entire lives. They deserve better, and we, New York City, owe them better. They deserve modern community centers that support their well-being, provide a safe and welcoming environment, ensure access to healthy and nutritious meals, and offer a place to connect. not only with their peers, but with the broader community. It is time for our older adults to thrive, not merely survive. We all share the same mission to ensure our older adults can age comfortably in place in their homes and the community centers. To make this possible, we need collaboration, not additional barriers. Capital project dollars must be preserved for improvements that truly enhance our centers. To support transparency and accountability, we need a clear public digital NYCHA capital project tracker, along with ticket tracking and documented timelines so we can see where requests stand and prevent issues from stalling from months or sometimes years. We also thank the council for reviewing the legislation being heard today. I would like to also respond to Intro 238 on the day-to-day experience of providing grab-and-go meals at our older adult centers. Grab-and-go meals have been a wonderful addition to the OAC contract. However, they should function as an option within the congregate lunch model, not as a separate line of metrics. For example, in fiscal year 25, one of our sites delivered 6,000 grab-and-go units, surpassing a target of 3,000 by 100%. While this demonstrates strong participation and community need, it came at the expense of our congregate lunch numbers. This model forces providers to choose between meeting one metric or another, even though both services support older adults' access to healthy meals. I thank you, and I look forward to working together toward a solution that prioritizes the safety, dignity, and well-being of our community members. Thank you.
Thank you. And also for the center you just mentioned, said it's raining outside, it's pouring inside.
Yes.
Can you give me a list?
So this is at our Isaac Center, Community Center. It's located at 415 East 93rd Street in the Isaacs and Homes community, NYCHA.
I want to go there to visit.
I would love for you to come and visit.
We'll
too, Chair
connect
Mealy,
with
if you will. Okay.
Would love to.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a date. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council Members Zhuang and Mealy, for convening this oversight hearing. My name is Anita Kwok, a policy analyst at United Neighborhood Houses, a federation of settlement houses serving 840,000 New Yorkers. Crystal's actually one of our members. NYC aging funded programs often face major difficulties with aging buildings and equipment upkeep. System-wide needs include HVAC repairs, accessibility upgrades, technology systems, kitchen equipment, bathroom repairs, and more. Providers frequently express problems with leaks and flooding after storms, both of which will be more frequent as climate change accelerates with the rate and intensity of weather-related disasters. Capital funds keep buildings and equipment in a state of good repair, but aging programs have longstanding capital needs that have not been met. Without sufficient capital streams, repair needs are exacerbated, which may, for example, cause the AC or heat to stop working during the winter or summer. Our settlement house members pursue discretionary funding from the council, but these funds are never stable or consistent, and not every organization is able to access them. We're grateful for the pot of $5 million to repair infrastructure at older adult centers, and we hope the council maintains this funding. UNH also supports, we're continuing to support Councilmember Hudson's Intro 238 for grab-and-go meals and Councilmember Lee's Intro 280 for home-delivered meals, so long as there is enough funding for providers, especially with older adult hunger at a crisis level. I have a lot more in my testimony. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the room still want to testify? If not, now we're going to move to virtual testimony. Please wait for your name to call to testify, and please select unmute when prompted. Salomo Smart.
Starting time.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Solomon Smart, Associate VP of Older Adult Programs for BronxWorks, which has served older adults since 1972. Many older adult centers deal with aging infrastructure, as we've heard. As an example, our East Concourse Older Adult Center deals with year-round leaks in its roof. Thanks to the support of NYC Aging, the membrane was replaced in 2007, but after 19 years, it's due for replacement. Our centers also have aging HVAC systems. While the associated costs with replacing and repairing heating and cooling units are not included in the center's annual budgets, they're still often taken from our bottom lines, reducing our limited funding. And finally, our OACs must often retrofit facilities not initially designed for older adult services. Adding proper offices and programming spaces comes at great costs. Therefore, we wholeheartedly endorse enhanced capital funding for OACs. We also support Intro 238. During 2025 calendar year, BronxWorks served 108,000 meals, including breakfasts and lunch, to older adults, more than 3,200 of them, all in person and in congregate setting. But based on frequent requests for to-go meals from seniors who are not able to sit and eat, we estimate that we could serve anywhere from 10,000 to 16,000 additional meals in the first year of this initiative, increasing our impact on food security by 10 to 15%. Considering that there are over 300 older adult centers across New York City, this could easily reduce the meal gap for older adults by millions. We agree that having less than half of 1% of funding from the city's budget is inadequate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And the next one, we have Siobhan Nobova.
Starting time.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Siobhan Naboa, and I'm the Associate Executive Director for Older Adult Services at Sunnyside Community Services. I want to thank the chairs for the opportunity to present testimony today on the importance and urgent need to fund meals 7 days a week for homebound older adults. I'll give you a brief snapshot of what Sunnyside does. We believe that our continuum offers older adults to remain safe, active in their communities, and live with dignity. We have services that span family caregiving. We have an older adult center, elder justice, geriatric mental health. We have a social adult day program and citywide home care services. We also have Medicaid enrollment to help people apply for Medicaid and live in their homes for as long as possible. All of our screening and referrals are coordinated through our centralized intake team. In addition, we also have NYC Aging funded case management programs here in Queens. We serve community districts 1, 2, 3, and 5. And this is a crucial service that bridges vulnerable older adults to the supports they need to remain safely at home. We're here in strong support of Intro 280, which would fund meals 7 days a week. So at Sunnyside, we have 17 case managers who are responsible for assessing and authorizing meals for older adults in their home. Currently, we approve meals for 7 days a week. However, door-to-door hot meal delivery is only available 5 days a week, with frozen meals provided for the weekend through Thursday or Friday deliveries. We're grateful for the support, but meals offer far more than nutrition. They're a critical lifeline. First, they provide eyes on the ground, ensuring someone regularly checks on our isolated older adults. This routine contact prevents crises, and we can identify emerging needs earlier. Second, I've heard earlier today, even brief interactions with delivery staff provide meaningful social connections for many of our clients who often live alone and cannot leave their homes. And finally, for many of our clients who are living with disabilities or increasing frailty, they can't stand at a stove, they cannot prepare their own meals, and they don't go out to get food simply
Your
because
time
they
has
can't.
expired.
I just wanted to share a quick story, if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. So we have a 62-year-old client who rents a room in a shared apartment, and he has limited access to a kitchen. He previously worked in a restaurant pre-pandemic, but now has poor mobility and partial paralysis. Not only does he require accessoride and an escort to move around for medical appointments, he cannot stand for prolonged periods or sit upright without support. Cooking safely is not an option. So after a home visit, our case manager was able to secure a replacement toaster oven in 2023 so he could benefit to heat his home delivered meals. We tap into NYC Aging supplemental funds. We purchase microwaves and toaster ovens for many clients so they can safely reheat weekend frozen meals. They don't have ovens that work, and sometimes they just can't use the stove. We hear about concerns from clients about sodium levels, as an example, which can exacerbate conditions like hypothermia. Fresh meal delivery would reduce the need for heavy preservation and better support the health needs of older adults that we serve. So I want to thank you for the partnership. I do believe we have a collective responsibility to care for older New Yorkers, and we're hoping that you prioritize this expansion. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next is Deborah Knight.
Starting time.
On behalf of SAGE and the LGBTQ plus older adults and living with HIV whom we serve, thank you to the New York City Council Committee and Chairs Zhuang and Mealy for providing a platform. My name is Deborah Knight. I'm the Senior Director of Programs at SAGE NYC, the oldest and largest organization dedicated to improving the lives of LGBTQ older adults. Today, we're expressing our support for intro number 238. As cuts to federal programs loom, the risk of food security in New York City is also growing. The challenges are more difficult for SAGE's constituents. LGBTQ plus elders and older New Yorkers living with HIV are often disconnected from services and socially isolated. They have less familial support. Many mistrust the government and other institutions based on past discrimination and mistreatment. These challenges are further exacerbated for transgender and LGBTQ plus older people of color. In a 2025 survey, transgender and BIPOC older adults were twice as likely to report food insecurities. Even older adults who are already connected to meal programs struggle to achieve food security. A survey by CUNY and Urban Food Policy Institute and City Meals on Wheels found that 60% of older adults receiving home-delivered meals experienced food security within the past year. Food insecurity can have serious health consequences for older adults. Providing grab-and-go meals at centers where they receive other services is an effective way of providing these additional meals. SAGE already provides grab-and-go meals at our SAGE Center in Harlem twice a week. Our ED Windsor Center serves 195 grab-and-go meals per week, and SAGE Center Stonewall in Brooklyn serves 150 grab-and-go meals per week. At SAGE Center Bronx, many participants live alone and subsist on little to no income. The grab-and-go meals are vital to meeting their nutritional needs. Expanding the availability of these meals through the Department of the Aging will go a long way to reducing the number of older New Yorkers who go without adequate food. When grab-and-go meals began, there was a fear that older adults would miss out on engagement at older adult centers, yet the opposite has proven to be true. If I could have a couple more seconds.
Please wrap up.
This touch point has helped strengthen their engagement with the centers overall. The grab-and-go distribution creates a natural pathway for deeper support. For these reasons, we urge the City Council to pass intro number 238 to help ensure that the growing population of older adults will be able to meet nutritional meals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And the next one is Evelyn Garcia.
Starting time.
Good afternoon, Chair Zhuang and esteemed members of the Committee on Aging. My name is Evelyn Garcia, and I'm the Executive Chef and Director of Culinary Programs at the Lenox Hill Neighborhood House. Lenox Hill Neighborhood House was originally founded as a kindergarten in 1894 for immigrants and is among the oldest settlement houses in the nation. At its core, the work has not changed since our founding, as we remain dedicated to improving the lives of New Yorkers through education, nutrition and wellness, and mental health services. Among a variety of community-based programs providing daily farm-to-table meals, activities, and social services to over 13,000 older New Yorkers living in all 5 boroughs each year is a key part of our mission. Today, specifically, I want to speak about one of the programs that, while simple in concept, has proven transformative in practice, which is our grab-and-go meals for older adults. Older New Yorkers face a combination of serious challenges such as food insecurity, social isolation, mobility limitations, and the competing demands of medical appointments, caregiving, and work. These variables impact the daily lives of many. An older adult managing a chronic illness may have a doctor's appointment at the same time that her congregate meals at an older adult center is served. A kinship caregiver for a grandchild may not be able to attend an older adult center for meals. For these individuals and many other similar cases, a congregate meal program alone is not enough to meet the needs for food insecurity, and the means to supplement this is vital. Grab-and-go meals fill the gap with dignity and flexibility. They ensure that older adults never have to choose between attending to important demands of their lives and eating a nutritious meal. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Neighborhood House began distributing grab-and-go meals to our older adult clients, and we have continued to support this mission throughout, as well as our daily congregate breakfast, lunch, and dinner meals. What began for us as supplemental support has become essential. Each week, we not only see our numbers grow, but we hear directly from clients who have expressed deep gratitude for receiving these farm-table meals beyond their standard operating hours. That feedback reinforces that something fundamental, which is that access and flexibility matter as much as quality. At Lenox Hill Neighborhood House, we have expanded our grab-and-go efforts, and because we understand that food insecurity has a severe impact on vulnerable New Yorkers.
Expired.
May I continue, please?
Please wrap up.
We prioritize regional sourced ingredients and culturally reflective meals. This legislation is more than a distribution model, is a preventative health policy and economic equity, and a reflection of how we value our older adults in the city. Investing in grab-and-go meal programs is investing in stronger families and more resilient communities. We also support and ask for modernized kitchens and adequate storage for accessible spaces, and these would make a strong impact on service delivery for thousands of New Yorkers. Thank you again for your time and commitment to the well-being of our older New Yorkers.
Thank you. Next is Tamika Mapp.
Hi, thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tamika Mapp, and I'm the district leader for the 68th Assembly District, Part D. I'm here to speak for the seniors of East Harlem and the Upper East Side who currently invisible to the city service providers. We have a crisis of outreach. We have programs on paper, but if a senior is in a walk-up on 116th Street, doesn't know they exist, these programs doesn't know they exist, these programs don't exist. We need a robust boots on the ground outreach strategy that meets our seniors at their doors, not just on a website they cannot access or through a flyer they never see. Furthermore, we must address the culture of our senior centers. These are supposed to be sanctuaries, but for many, they have become places of anxiety. We are hearing from the community members who refuse to go to the local centers because of the abuse and mistreatment they have witnessed or experienced. Currently, when staff members are abuses, the system solutions often acquire transfer to another facility. A transfer is not accountability, it's a relocation of harm. We must stop the cycle of shuffling bad actors around our community. If you mistreat an elder in our district, you should be barred from the industry, not given a new desk at a different center. Finally, we must address the food security. It's a disgrace that the city with this much wealth, many seniors have access to grab-and-go meals 1 or 2 days a week. Hunger doesn't happen on a schedule. To address these failures, I'm calling on the committee to create a senior center accountability registry. Any staff members terminated for substance abuse or neglect must be barred from working in any city-funded seniors facility. No more transfers. Mandate a 7-day fresh food access program by funding mobile markets and pantry deliveries that provide fresh produce daily. Invest in human outreach, hire community liaisons to go door to door, building trust and physically bringing our seniors back into the fold to the services they deserve. Our seniors shouldn't be afraid of the people who care for them, and they should be left hungry in the dark. We need real oversight and real access now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who has testified. If there's anyone present in the room or on Zoom that has not had the opportunity to testify, please raise your hand. Okay, no more. Seeing no one else, I would like to note that written testimony which will be reviewed in full by committee staff may be submitted to the record up to 72 hours after closing of this hearing by email to testimony@council.nyc.gov.